and welcome to Covalence's first virtual demo day. As many of you know, over the last few months, we've been transitioning our boot camp from being an in-person boot camp to a fully online boot camp. And we've completely made that transition now. And for our final projects of our last in-person Birmingham and Nashville classes, we decided to take this demo day and make it virtual like all of ours will be in the future. So this is our first time doing this, so forgive us if there are some little hiccups here and there, but I really hope that you enjoy the projects that you're going to get to see today and the teams that have been working on them. So we have two projects that have been completed in the last couple of weeks, craft crawls and jelly drop. Craft crawls was done by our Birmingham team, and jelly drop was done by our Nashville team. So these students came into the class 10 weeks ago and they didn't know very much about coding at all. They maybe had done some tutorials and things like that on HTML and CSS, but very few of them had dug into JavaScript at all. So over the last 10 weeks, they've really been diving deep into software development and learning all of the aspects that go with creating a full stack application. So the apps that you're going to see today are actually running on devices on React Native, using React Native. They also have been working with the React Web Framework, as well as Node.js, JavaScript, MySQL, and a myriad of other tools and frameworks that they've been learning. So they've taken all of those learnings and put them into these projects, and I'm really excited for you to see what they've done. And if you're an employer out there watching this, these guys are ready to go out and get a job. So they are fully prepared for that first job as a software developer, and we're excited to see where they end up. So what we've done is we've put together a couple of videos about the projects, and then we'll do a panel discussion with the teams that you'll get to see, and them explain their project and tell you a little bit about them and why they decided to take the class. So I hope you enjoy. Here we go. I'm here with our Birmingham class, and we're going to be talking about their final project. But first, let's go ahead and get an introduction from each of them and tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you took the class and then why you decided to take it. So go ahead, Nick.
Sure. My name is Nick Bates. I was in retail before I took this class. So ultimately, that's what led me to looking for something else, is just not enjoying that and feeling like I could do more. I'm a humanities guy. I started out as a history major at UAB, and I managed to finish that a few years ago, and now I'm just trying out something different, and it's been for the best, I think.
Cool.
Hi, my name is George Wynn, and I was a machine tech at Birmingham Fastener. Just spent a lot of time watching a lot of older gentlemen around me just kind of get worn out by the industry, and I figured it was just time to try something new and chase after a passion of mine. So I'm really glad I did.
Very cool.
Yeah. So my name is Jessie Melton, and I recently graduated the University of Alabama in December with a computer science degree and a software engineering concentration. And I just decided to further my education, computer science.
Cool.
So.
Very good. Well, all right. Let's talk about craft crawls and what it is, and just whoever wants to kind of just walk us through exactly how the app works, what you can do in it, and then we'll dig in a little bit on the technical side of what you did for the project, what you liked, and those kind of things. Who wants to go?
I can do it. So craft crawls was something we thought of to help people find different cool places to go visit in Birmingham. There's a lot of really cool breweries and restaurants. It's something we're kind of known for here. So basically what the app does is you create an account and you're able to pick a route. So we have these different little route or crawls in our app that will have different locations, and you can check out the different locations and see, which one might suit where you want to go. Some focus more on going to breweries, some focus more on going to just craft cocktail bars, things like that. And once you select that crawl, you're actually able to go to each stop and take pictures at each stop with your friends, and it's just kind of a way to get out and try out these cool places around Birmingham.
Yeah, so it's like a pub crawl.
That's basically what it is.
So you're going from bar to bar
Yeah.
at night with your friends and like kind of documenting that and
Yeah.
getting your Uber from each one.
Yeah, that's another cool function we were able to add, is that you can get directions to the next stop by going to Google Maps. We have a button for that. We also have a way that you can basically just click a button and it pulls up Uber for you. So
Yeah, awesome. Definitely want to be safe.
Yeah,
on our pub
of course.
crawls. So I know you guys actually, normally what happens is somebody does the back end, the server, or the database, and then the front end. But you guys kind of just took a whole different approach and said, everybody's going to do everything. So let's just start with you, Jesse. Just tell us a little bit about one of the things you really liked about coding on the app, like one feature that you did that you enjoyed.
Yeah, so I really liked developing the front end, I think, the most. I liked writing in JavaScript and exploring React, because I've never done it before. So I really liked that part of it. And then being able to access the database and store things in a database and be able to get it back out is pretty neat.
Yeah, from the app.
Yeah, from the app is pretty neat.
That's pretty cool. How about you?
Honestly, I think I really prefer the back-end work. I really like just setting up all the API calls and having it be that kind of invisible middle area that kind of lets the app do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And that's what I really enjoyed.
Funnily enough, since we did it all together, I actually enjoyed the database part the most. It was something. So maybe we should have split it up, but this was not planned.
At least you figured that out.
Yeah. So it was something that really made no sense to me. I felt like when I first started learning it, and working on this project with these two has just really helped me to develop that skill, and now I really like it. It was something that just made sense by the end of it.
Awesome. So I know that you can go in and create routes, so then that creates a route in the database, and then you can go in and start a route. Tell us about maybe the biggest challenge that you had working on that. Whoever wants to go first.
I know that we did have an issue where it's like, you put these locations in the database, but then when it actually came to the front end of the app, they were all scrambled. It wasn't the order that we wanted. And so we actually had to make another column in our database for stop order, and that was something cool that we were able to figure out, and we were just scratching our heads for a while trying to figure that out, and it was really cool when it came together.
Yeah. What else?
I think towards the end, when we started to allow the user to take pictures at certain stops, we weren't sure how we were going to store that information in the database, and then we ended up using Cloudinary to store the image. So that was something a little difficult towards the end that we had to figure out.
So I don't know that everybody will know what Cloudinary is. George, I know you use that a lot. So
yeah, I end up working with that probably the most. So Cloudinary is like an image hosting service. I believe it's tied with Amazon S3. So what happens is we don't really have the space or the capability to store images on our database.
Mm-hmm.
So Cloudinary offers that for us. They allow us to store images in a remote location and lets us call to it in our own database, which is really cool of them.
So you got to push the image up, it returns you a URL that then you can store in the database and reference later.
Yeah.
Cool. So whenever you're in there and you're creating your routes, how do you know where the route is? Is that a part of the app too? Is there GPS coordinates to this, or is it not in there?
It's more like there's different locations that we put in there because we added a lot of details to each location where you can literally go in and see different details about that specific location as far as what you might find there, whether it's more of a brewery or a place where you get a good cocktail or something like that. So it's more like we actually put those specific locations in that database.
Cool. All right. Well, it's a pretty cool app. Hopefully you guys end up pushing that to the App Store. Anything else you want to say about the app or experience that you had?
It was fun to make it.
Yeah,
Very
it was,
good.
it was definitely a learning experience. Debugging is
It's
probably,
Yeah.
It's a learning
Especially in
experience.
the native environment, React
Yeah.
Native,
Yeah.
for
Oh, yeah.
sure. Doing a website is one thing, doing an app is a whole nother.
Completely
I
different.
found that out for sure.
Yeah.
But it's cool, you see it running on the devices and everything, and I'm super proud of you guys and what you've done over the course of the last 10 weeks. I mean, it's a grueling, challenging experience, but you really came out of it, and we're looking forward to seeing where you land on your next job, so, or your first job.
Yeah.
So let's go do that.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks.
See ya. All right, hello and welcome. This is our Nashville group, and we're going to be talking about their final project. So first, let's introduce the team members. Go ahead, guys.
I'm Justin Head. I'm Robert Tate.
So Robert, what were you doing before you decided to take this class?
Before Covalence, I was in sales. I worked for a company called ASCAP, and I was doing public performance rights contract negotiation, essentially, working with businesses that use ASCAP's repertory and need to get permission to do so. I'm the guy they get on the phone to do that, and great company to work for. I really enjoyed it. I was just kind of seeking something new.
Yeah, and just like tech and just decided to go.
Yeah, I've had a few friends over the years that have done similar things. They've gone the boot camp route,
Right.
and they've all had really good experiences. So I'm like, you know, this could be something worth jumping into, and I just found that I really liked it. So,
Yeah, awesome.
yeah.
How about you, Justin?
Actually, I was kind of in between things. I moved back from Texas. I had been taking care of some family, but prior to that, I did some college recruitment for the law enforcement community because my experience before that was as a police officer. So I
Okay.
kind of made that transition. Was kind of looking for something a little bit new, and it was something I've been really interested in.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, you guys wrote a pretty neat little game. Why don't one of you, whoever wants to walk us through the different features of it, how it works. Don't get into the technical details yet. Just tell us a little about just what it is and how it works.
So it is a mobile app called Jelly Drop, and it is a game. The premise is simple. You basically, as a user, every day you have a certain number of jellies that you can walk around in the real world and drop them wherever you want. The main functionality of the game is a map that is interactive, where you can see how many jellies you have, what your score is, and you get points for dropping them, and you can also see other players, the jellies that they've left behind, and it's also your goal to collect those for more points. So it's kind of a communal game. You can play it passively or actively. There's different built-in bonuses and rewards and timed events that kind of make it a little more enjoyable and a little more incentive to drop your jellies in good places. So that's the main premise. We've got some other components going on, but that's kind of the main idea.
Cool. And I know that you got like a leaderboard in there and some other things like that. You want to tell us a little bit about how the scoring works?
Sure. So the way we did the score was, if you pick up someone's jelly, it's 24 points. If you drop one of yours, it's 2 points. You get an allowance of 20 jellies to start with it each day. When you pick up, you've got one more to drop. But if you set at least 20 in a day, at the end of the day, the schedule kicks in a daily bonus and gives you 100 bonus points
For dropping.
for dropping all 20 of the original goal. And then at the end of the week, each week at the end of Sunday, 11:59 and 30 seconds, an event will run through, and what that event will do is it'll actually look at it and see. The idea was to reward somebody for dropping them in good locations. So if 75% of the 20 for each day was 105, so at the end of the week, if they had more than 105 of their jellies picked up, then we go back to that 24 they were getting for each one they picked up, and we give them an extra 6 points. And if they've done 100% of that goal and had 100% picked up, then it's 140 in a week. We actually go ahead and we award them another 6. So it actually takes them from 24 to 36. So it encourages them to play both sides of the game. It makes it more balanced and even, a little more strategy to which way you want to play.
Right. So you're going to start a boot camp for how your scoring works?
It's pretty difficult.
The math sounds arbitrary, but there actually is intent.
No, I'm
behind
sure
it.
that you spent a lot of time trying to figure out what would incentivize somebody not to just drop them all versus
Right.
Yeah.
just run around, pick them up, and never drop yours so that other people can't get points. That was kind of the idea to try to fix, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, why would anyone ever drop? They just go pick up.
And I think that when people are using apps or playing games or whatever, you don't even, this is complexity you had to figure out before you even started coding.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, even
And
on
you
the
don't
database side.
And you don't kind of think about those things until you start to build something.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
so I know that there were a lot of different moving pieces to this app. So why don't you guys tell me a little bit about the map piece of that, because it is an actual app that runs on iOS and Android, which I'm hoping one day that you'll push it to the App Store. But tell us a little bit about the map functionality, kind of how, from a game perspective, how it works, and then some maybe challenges that you had getting that to work.
Sure. So the map itself is in there using a module from React Native Maps, which had its quirks, but it worked. We were able to style it and really make it look our own. And the idea is that those jellies are being saved in the database as rows of data that can be pulled in every time something changes, every time a user picks up one or drops one. A whole sequence of API requests goes off that basically will re-render the new norm, the new existing count of what's to be actually rendered on the map. So
Right.
every time you're doing anything with it, it's changing.
Yeah, so did you guys split up those responsibilities on this?
Yeah, it was a little bit of, we had days where sometimes we do some paired programming and work together on certain pieces. The maps specifically, our third partner, Alan, who is sick, he couldn't make it, but he did a lot to get that really going. And then I jumped in and also was able to help really connecting it to the back end more, getting routes configured properly in order to be sending and receiving the right information for what you expect a game to be doing to take place.
Right.
So.
Justin, so you worked on the database a good bit, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you also had to somehow schedule these points to happen and to reset at night and after a week. So tell us a little bit about, kind of stretching your knowledge that you even learned in the class to kind of get some of these things happening.
Yeah, so we actually, it was kind of a new concept. We hadn't really done it. And first we were looking at doing it all internally within the database. And that for the most of that probably could have been done, but without paying for an actual database service. There was some restrictions, and then found another option, which was cron job scheduling. And so we were able to trigger through Node basically a series of queries at a certain time in the cron job schedule daily that would handle resetting the numbers of jellies they have to drop and what their count on what they picked up was for their bonuses and doing the bonus, and then another weekly event that would calculate weekly bonuses, and then kind of a game cleanup, which we had to constantly interact with the database to where we would increment what week it was, because we played the game in 28-day periods, 4 weeks. So every fourth change on a rotate, a logical expression would kick in basically saying, If it was the 4th week, then let's go ahead and do a loop on all the players and put them into an instance of a game, the most current game, by creating a new game, putting them in there, and creating all of them and resetting all of their numbers and cleaning the board so that the game will always stay renewed and refreshed. I mean, the idea is that 3 months later we could hop in and be a completely different game we've never touched before, but we would be ready to play.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about security and authentication and how you guys handled that.
Yeah, so we used Passport on the front and back end, and also in regards to React navigation, which is another module used to really design the structure of navigation. Between our pages, we used a switch navigator so that there were kind of 2 branches of components you could get to if you were signed in, and then components you could get to if you were signed out.
Right.
So that kind of helped them stay separated.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part of working on the app? Either one of you. Or do you, Robert, and then Jeff?
Sure, yeah. Probably when I actually just started seeing the jellies do what they're supposed to be doing on the map. We were having a really silly issue for a little while. Just getting them to re-render when state changed, and it ended up just being like the tiniest thing. It was a small oversight. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's funny that a small thing, but it created this big aha moment where it's like, all right, this really feels like a game now, where we can physically see things changing as you're playing. So
that's cool.
That was pretty fun.
How about you?
I think what I was most interested in and I really liked was I actually liked being able, not necessarily to see the immediate style or anything on the app, but I actually liked being able to actually, once the map was functioning and they were clicking and it was actually doing things in the database, to be able to actually grab that content, and whether it was the schedule and know that like I could go home that day and overnight a change would happen, I'd go in the next day and all of the scores would be changed on the leaderboard, was really cool. But also kind of coming full circle as far as dealing with React. When you learn about React and dealing with reusable components, I hadn't had really any reason to actually really implement a reusable component, but I had to create a component for scores and ranks for the current game, last game, and all-time score. And when I created that component, I was able to place it in 3 different sections on the leaderboard screen as well as the profile. We ended up using one component 4 times, and so that was kind of a really cool feeling to actually come full circle and have actually used a reusable component where it was just put it here, put it here, put it here, and it just worked every time.
Right.
No adjustments, it was the same thing every time.
That's awesome. That's why people love React.
Yeah.
That's stateless components. So, well, I really appreciate you guys coming out and telling us a little bit about the app. I'm excited to see where you end up in your first job. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah. Yep.
So they're ready and employable and ready to go. So look forward to seeing that and seeing where you end up. All right, thanks.